All right, so let's jump in and demonstrate some of these concepts. We're going to go into PyCharm. We're going to talk just a little bit about concatenation and the plus equals very, very, very quickly because you should be pretty familiar with this kind of stuff, right? So again, I can get first name, okay, and I can just go ahead and get that input. Boom, okay. I can get last name. And this should all be review, but I just want to make sure we're not missing anything. Okay, there's last name. So, and when I'm talking about string concatenation here, we use the plus or the plus equals. Okay, so essentially, if I want to do first name and go ahead and add last name into first name, I can do first name equals first name plus last name. Okay, that's one way that I can actually do that. Now, I can also use the augmented assignment operator, which would be first name plus equals last name. Okay, so that's going to do the same thing. Now, if I were to print first name at this point, I got to use the print word, print first name at this point, I want you to think about this for a second, pause the video, and I want you to predict for me what is going to print out. Okay, so think about it for a second. So at this point, I added first name plus last name, and then I did first name plus equals last name. Okay, so I want you to think what is going to come out of this when I print it. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. First name is Adam. Last name is Spanier. Adam Spanier, right? Because I went ahead and added last name to first name, and then I added last name again to first name. Now, notice that there's no spaces, right? It's not going to assume that you are going to add spaces, okay? So if you want to add a space, you just do something like that, right? So I can do the same thing if I want to add a space in here as well. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated to go ahead and build strings when you're doing this, but you can probably just go ahead and add a space. So again, plus equals has this limitation. So we're going to have to add a space right here. Now, I want to try something just to see if we can break it. We're going to do plus equals. There we go. We're going to do open quote, close quote, and then we're going to do another one. And we're going to see if we can go ahead and add that as well. Okay, so if this doesn't work, then it means we won't have space, but let's just try it. And there we go. We went ahead and added a space before with the plus equals. So actually, this is completely legal. So you can actually do a plus equals and then add two things together that will be plus equaled. So it's kind of cool. So if you think about it, it's sort of like this is in parentheses. So it'll put this string together and then it'll concatenate it onto the backside of that. So pretty neat. Python's very, very flexible, very cool. You could also do the plus equals with just adding it like this as well, right? So that would also work in the same manner. Oops, let's go ahead and do like that. So then Adam Spanier. Okay, so that's a fantastic way to go ahead and do those concatenations. Very quick little coverage there. Again, you have some flexibility in that. So again, strings are immutable, so once they're created, can't be changed. So let's go ahead and try to just change a character in this input, okay? So I have first name, I have last name. Let's go ahead and call it full name equals first name plus, last name. Okay, so now we have the full name. So let's go ahead and try, let's go ahead and print full name here. And let's go ahead and try to just change the 0th element because we know all lists starts at 0. Very easy to go ahead and access that. So let's try to do full name 0 equals G. Okay, so we're going to try this and we're going to see what happens because what this indicates is it's going to raise an exception. So let's go ahead and see what kind of an exception we're going to get. So obviously Adam here, Spanier there, and boom, type error, string object does not support item assignment. Okay, it's because it is 100% immutable. Okay, so you can't change it once it's created. You can concatenate into new areas or into new memory locations, but you cannot change the existing data. Okay, so that sort of demonstrates this concept right there. Now, let's go ahead and talk about string slicing here a little bit. Okay, so I have the full name. All right, so we can print that out and we can see what we have. Now, what I can do is if I want to just grab a slice, so let's just call it a new slice. Okay, so to be able to do this, I can actually grab, full name. Okay, and I can just open, close, bracket it. So if I just use one index, that'll go ahead and print, or that'll go ahead and grab the 0th element, right? So if I do this again, and actually let's do that. Okay, so it grabs the A. Okay, so we could do it in this direction, but we can't reverse that because we get the type error, right? Now let's go ahead and see if we can't grab a slice. Okay, so we're going to grab a slice out of there and essentially make a substring. Okay, so if we leave this element out, it starts at 0, right? If we leave this element out, it will go to the end. Okay, so essentially, whenever we use an index, it's always just going to grab. It's going to use that as a start, and then it's only going to grab that element there, okay? Now, when we add this right here, okay, so we're going to start at 0, and we are going to go to the length, just to demonstrate this to you, the length of full name. Oops, not first name. Keeps getting me. Okay, so essentially, we're going to start at 0, and this is going to probably tell me that I don't need it, but... oh, it just doesn't want a space. Okay, so PyCharm has all those little fun things. So we're going to start at 0. We're going to go to the length of full name. Now, we remember this is non-inclusive, okay? So this should just give us the full name again, right, because we're doing the entire thing, and it should not create an error, okay? And there you go. Just gave us the full name, okay? Now, if we want to start up further, we can go to 2. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and move up to index number 2, and it's going to give am Spaniard. Okay, now if we want to do something less than this, and we just want to go 2 to 5, for instance, okay, that's going to do 2, 3, and 4 because it's non-inclusive on that backside, and there we get am. So 2, 3, and there is a space as 4. So if I go up to 6, you'll see that space. And there you go. Okay, so that's the way that slicing sort of looks. Now, you can use the length of the string. You can use 0. You can grab all kinds of cool stuff with there. Obviously, when we get into splitting, it gets even better. It gets a lot easier because you can use a delimiter to go ahead and split strings into tokens, which is really, really cool. So again, we can slice manually as well. So if you just want to slice it and you just really need to grab very, very specific indices and specific lengths, then you have the slicing. Okay. Now, in terms of testing these strings, what we want to do here is go ahead and test the in and not in elements. Okay, so because I have this list, I can actually use the in. So I can do a statement like if Adam, make sure it's exactly in full name. So I can test to see if one of my names has Adam in it. Then I can say print found it. Okay. So that means that I can do if Adam in full name, I can find it. Okay, so let's go ahead and enter in my name. And boom, we found it, right? If I enter in something without that, didn't find it, right? And we could do an if else, right? So value not found. Okay, and I can take user input to try to find it as well. We won't do that because we're for time. Okay, found it. All right, so we can actually use the in or not in. So again, if I do not, if Adam not in full name, I can actually just say not found, right? If Adam isn't in full name, it's not found. And then otherwise, if it is, then I can say found, right? So it's just reverses that logic a little bit. So, oops, and then I hit the wrong key here. Adam Spaniard, okay, found. Okay, so that dropped us here because we used the not in function. Okay, so that's sort of how you search, and you can use the not in as well. All right, so what I want you to do is go to PyCharm, mess around with this, go back, follow through with me if at all possible, and get pretty familiar with this kind of stuff. Again, it's quite a bit of review, especially if you really dug into the lists. But before you move forward into our methods, I want you to go ahead and get comfortable with that. So we're going to move into methods in the next video, so I'll see you on the other side.